Markets open again after the worst week since the financial crisis.
Big funds, the hedge funds.
The Dow jumping 200 points at the open this morning.
It's just a good place to put your savings.
You suddenly put them together and you say, damn it, that's what's happening.
Hi everyone and welcome to the 2025 Business Bubble podcast. This is our first episode in 2025, and I really want to say a big thank you for all our listeners and everybody that listened to this podcast last year. And actually since inception, we started this podcast in 2021, and here we are, 2025. This has been a good run so far. In 2024, we started our YouTube channel. We got a couple of guests, and 2025 is actually going to be bigger and better. So you should stick around and see what we're going to have in 2025. But yeah, it's going to be a good year. I actually feel it, especially for the economy. Last year the economy was great. The S&P returned 29% by the end of the year. But that 29% has literally been because of the Magnificent Seven, or more concentrated, the Magnificent Five, which are the biggest seven or the biggest five companies in the world, basically. The Magnificent Seven actually grew earnings by 44% in 2024. While the rest of the S&P only grew earnings by 2% in 2024, which is very, very slow. At the point last year, Nvidia was accounting for 49% of the whole stock market gain. It was actually a bad year for equities, but generally it was a good year because tech company actually accounted for more gains of the S&P and the stock market than everybody else. So it felt like a good year, but it was actually a bad year. But it was actually driven because of a few policies, from inflation to high interest rates, which the Fed started cutting late last year, to high taxes, right, and to a hard business environment. But actually all that concoction caused the economy to actually not really grow that much. Other parts of the economy. The economy is actually very different from the stock market. Very two different distinct things, right? The economy didn't grow that much, but the stock market did 29%, but it was actually because of the Magnificent Seven, which are the seven biggest companies in the world. But more especially, 5 out of those 7 companies. So this year is going to be, I believe, a great year, right? Because we have now a US government in 2025 that is pro-innovation, that is pro-business, that is pro-deregulation, and that is pro-cryptocurrency, that is generally business first, or America first. Which is a good thing too, because if you're someone that actually buy only American stocks, this is actually a good year. It might not necessarily be a good year for other economies, because a Trump presidency means a strong US dollar. Trump is all about America first, which helps the dollar to be strengthened. But that is not helping other currencies. If the dollar is strong, other currencies are not that strong. So it might not necessarily be a good year in terms of currency strength for other countries. But it's going to be a good year, for few countries that are actually positioning themselves well on different emerging tailwinds. India, India might do well, Indonesia will do well. I believe China will do better than the past 2 to 3 years that they've had economic contraction. But overall, the US is going to be better than everybody else, right? Italy is going to do well. Argentina is going to do well, actually because they are very close to Trump. Meloni of Italy is very close to Trump. Javier Milei of Argentina is very close to Trump. So tariffs, Trump's promise of tariffs might actually be felt in those countries that much because they position themselves well as Trump's best friends, and they obviously gonna have some sort of helpline compared to other countries. But everybody that have positioned themselves well in the Trump's 2025 presidency, not actually 2025 presidency, but for the next 4 years, are going to largely benefit, right? I think the first person that's going to largely benefit is Elon Musk. So I released a 2025 prediction on my Medium on my Medium article page. You could check it out. Link in the description. I released a 2025 prediction where I said a couple of things that would define 2025, from tech to business to politics. And the first thing that I actually mentioned was actually Elon Musk's influence in the 2025 Trump presidency. I only said 2025 Trump presidency because I believe the other years of Trump's presidency, the other 3 other years of Trump presidency, apart from 2025, I believe Elon is not going to have so much influence. I believe they will still be friends, but I think there will be some sort of conflict of interest or probably a fallout. A fallout is probably the most extreme case, but it's also a possible case because both of them are very powerful people. First of all, let's take Trump as a powerful person. In Trump's first presidency in 2016 to 2020, Trump was actually powerful, reason because he was U.S. president, and he had this strong persona behind him, right? But he didn't have the House. I don't think he had the Senate. The Democrats were leading, I think, the House and the Senate. So he didn't have the trifecta, which is the House and the Senate, plus the presidency. He had the presidency, but not the House and the Senate. This time around, Trump has the presidency, plus the popular votes of the people. He has the House, and he has the Senate, the Republicans. So it kind of that is coming from the past 3 years of Trump's lowest, basically, with a lot of lawsuits and all. He has become more powerful than ever before. So, and the Democrats are more lower than ever before in terms of power. They've disappointed so many people than ever before. So, Trump is very powerful right now. Every business CEO, every tech CEO is going to his house in Mar-a-Lago to actually kiss his ring, right? The second powerful person in this conversation, Elon Musk, is more powerful than ever before. Reason because he actually owns Twitter now. He was richer before. He was rich before. He's richer now, but he now owns the biggest the biggest media platform in the world, which is Twitter. I call it the biggest media platform in the world because it's the platform where the global conversation happens, right? So it's the biggest media platform in the world. For every news breaks, actually happens on Twitter first, or now X. So it makes him the most powerful person in the world. Plus, he has the largest following on Twitter. That gives him the biggest microphone or megaphone, if you want to call it that way, in the world right now, right? He has the ability to communicate like never before because he has the biggest microphone in the world, which is his largest Twitter following, and is the owner of the platform itself. So they are going to have a fallout, which they might have a fallout. If Trump is actually very serious about tariffs, because tariffs actually is bad for American companies, because most of your supply chain actually is from China. and that might be actually bad for American companies, right? At the same time, Trump's tariffs might actually be a negotiation tactics. It might not be serious with his tariffs. I don't think it's serious as well, but I believe it's some sort of negotiation tactics. Trump wrote it out of the deal. He knows what he's doing. He knows that tariffs is actually bad, but he knows how to get things from people, and I think tariffs might be one of the way, or the fear of tariffs might be one of the way, to be more precise. So yeah, Elon is gonna have influence in Trump presidency, that's for sure. From policies on AI regulations, is gonna have even more influence. On EV manufacturing, Trump is actually removing the EV tax credit, which is gonna actually affect other car makers in the US except Tesla, because other car makers in the US has been selling electric cars because of the tax credits. Without that, other car makers in the US can't sell electric cars. It would be too expensive. But Tesla has been the only one, even without tax credits, to actually sell massive volume of electric cars. So, like, it's no-brainer. Consolidation is going to happen. A lot of market share of EV car sales is going to go back to Tesla in 2025 and beyond. Yeah, I think another thing it could actually shape Trump's presidency, which will go to my next prediction, is cryptocurrency. This year is going to be a big year for crypto. I mean, on Trump's victory announcement, Bitcoin rose a lot, and the months or the weeks following after that, Bitcoin rose even to like $110,000, which is insane. Like, it means that Trump is actually the tailwind for Bitcoin to actually have crushed $100,000. It's actually impressive. So one of Trump's policies on Bitcoin right now is actually to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve for the United States, which is gonna make the US kind of like buy 1 million Bitcoin a year. The reason is because they want to use that to actually pay 50% of their debt in the next 20 years. So in the next 20 years, the USA wants to use all the Bitcoin that they are buying now to actually pay 50% of their debt. That is the case right now, right? That will cause massive adoption, and that will actually cause even adoptions from other people that were not really into cryptocurrencies or into Bitcoin, to be more precise. Now that Trump is more powerful, other countries might actually have to start accepting cryptocurrencies or allowing cryptocurrencies in the economy, right? Countries like Nigeria, countries like the UK, countries that have not actually favored cryptocurrencies in their country might get bullied to actually favor cryptocurrencies because of Trump. Institutional inflows of Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies has actually grown tremendously in 2024, which is going to follow a bigger trend in 2025. So BlackRock, Bitwise, BlackRock, ARK Invest, they all created ETFs, Bitcoin ETFs last year. But the most impressive one was actually BlackRock, because BlackRock is the biggest asset manager on earth. They manage $10 trillion for pension funds, for pensioners, for the average government worker to the average teacher in the USA. They manage their money indirectly, actually. So they're the biggest institutional asset manager investors in the world. They created a Bitcoin ETF last year, which attracted $50 billion of inflow on day one only. And I think that was actually late 2024 that happened. Their Bitcoin ETF. That was the biggest inflow of an ETF ever. $50 billion in one day is actually insane. Currently, it's at $100 billion inflow in like just a couple of weeks, right? So this is actually a huge signal for cryptocurrency and for Bitcoin most especially. 2025 is going to be a big year for crypto. The Bitcoin Strategic Reserve also, coming back to this, might be another tailwind because other countries like China and Russia would not kind of like sit down and look at the USA buying this much Bitcoin and stay there, because if the US is buying this much Bitcoin and the whole world have Bitcoin, have exposure to Bitcoin, it means that it will be very acceptable as a medium of currency. And China and Russia would not want to be the last people to realize that. China currently is the second holder of Bitcoin. The US is first, China second. Even if they don't allow their citizens to actually own Bitcoin, but the Chinese government actually owns Bitcoin more than everybody else except the USA. So I think this will actually make Bitcoin to reach $150,000 this year. That is my thought prediction. It's going to reach $150,000 this year. That is the minimum I believe it's going to reach this year. I believe it's going to go more than that, but I want to be on the conservative side. That's why I said $150,000, which is even higher than most people's predictions. Like some other people are predicting $120, which is very easy. Bitcoin can reach that like days after Trump's presidency. But $150,000, yes, it's gonna reach that. And I even want to say probably $200,000 or close to that this year. Right, that is one of my bull case scenario. It's gonna be a big year for public equities and the public stock market. Inflation is cooling. The Fed is cutting interest rates. We have pro-business policies, tax cut and deregulation. This all could create an environment for a record high stock market. I believe there will be corrections in the course of the year, but leading after the Trump's inauguration, there will be a record stock market, at least for the next 4 to 5 months. The big winners obviously are going to be stocks, tech stocks, meme stocks, quote and unquote meme stocks, and generally the US stock market. This is gonna kind of like lead back to animal spirit entering back the stock market, basically. That's why we would have a bull run. It's gonna lead to retail investors with animal spirit to enter the bull market. Yeah, so also the other trend line that I'm seeing, or the other tailwind that I'm seeing, is actually energy or nuclear energy revival. So last year, if you were conversant with the news, Microsoft, they announced a deal with 3 Mile Island, which is a nuclear energy facility that was dormant. Amazon also had a deal with a nuclear energy partner. Google had a deal. Meta had a deal. So everybody is actually going to nuclear energy. Actually, the reason is because to run data centers for large language models, or let's say artificial intelligence, you need lots and lots and lots of energy. Let me give you statistics. We have 200 million active users on OpenAI ChatGPT. That's 200 million active users, right? As of January 2023, in 1 month, in January of 2023, ChatGPT or OpenAI use more energy than the whole of Denmark than the whole annual consumption of Denmark, which is insane. Like ChatGPT alone, with 200 million users in 1 month, used more than the energy of Denmark in 1 year. It's insane. Also, to actually cool the data centers, we need lots and lots of amount of water. And other statistics. To actually for one prompt on ChatGPT requires 3 bottles of water to actually cool the servers. it requires a lot and lot of energy and water to run data centers for artificial intelligence or generative AI. And this is just at 200 million active users on ChatGPT, not talking of Google's Gemini or Microsoft Copilot or Meta's Llama model or Anthropic or Perplexity, right? At 200 million users on ChatGPT alone, we are using this much electricity. Now, when we are going to have a billion users on on artificial intelligence, using artificial intelligence daily, we're going to require more times 3 than the energy we are producing right now. So energy stocks is going to have a record high this year, most notably nuclear energy stocks. So I've kind of like have a Notion document, kind of like where I update my stock calls every week actually. So I put Constellation Energy. Constellation Energy has exposure to nuclear facilities in the US. So because all the big techs are going into nuclear energy, Constellation Energy made about I checked it today actually. They made like 28% within 1 week. So for the past 1 week they've made 28%. And for the past 3 months they've made close to 200%. So this is great actually. Anyway, I hope this is not gonna be a long podcast, but I'm kind of like I might not really say every of my predictions. I'll probably give you guys the opportunity to go read my predictions on Notion. But I'm just gonna talk on very few, then call it a day for this podcast. So I think the next prediction I said was large investments into AI agents startups. So 2024 or 2023 and 2024 was the year for AI LLMs, which is generative AI mostly. And generative AI, you need a lot of amount of money to actually run those models, to actually build the models and run the models. Meaning you need to buy a lot of chips from NVIDIA, you need to buy a lot of data centers, and you need a lot of electricity to run it. That amounts in tens, not just a few billions, but tens of billions of dollars. Now, nobody in the private market, no venture capital firm, no private equity firm will give you this much money as a startup to go build that. The reason why OpenAI and maybe Perplexity and Anthropic and Cloud were very unique was because they were kind of like the first movers in that space. Nobody else again would be giving this amount of money again to actually run large language models. But the next cycle for AI would be AI agents. AI agents are actually capable of actually doing every task that you can think of. If that is gonna like take over human capital, then the upside of AI agent is actually in trillions. Like imagine AI agent helping or taking over people's job, human capital, which are actually billions of people producing trillions of economic output. Then it's logical that billions of dollars would actually flow in investments in AI agents. That's for sure. So we're gonna have that this year. I was following the so Y Combinator kind of like release a couple of things all the time, right? So in December last month, they released 100 AI agent companies that they've invested into already. 100 AI agent companies that they've invested already. So this is going to be the tailwind trend of investments or private investments for this year that I strongly believe will happen. The next trend line would be robotics, and I believe that will be most likely next year. But this year we're going to have large AI agent investments. I spoke about fresh IPOs in my predictions. We're gonna have new IPOs, new private companies going public this year. So I'm looking forward for Stripe. I'm looking forward for Revolut. Revolut, 100%, I believe they're gonna go public this year. Stripe, I'm like 70% sure they're gonna go public. Canva is gonna go public. On Duril is gonna go public. Ramp is gonna go public. TikTok and OpenAI are peculiar cases because they have huge problems right now. TikTok has a problem because TikTok might be banned in the US. Might be banned in the US. So I don't know if they're gonna go public anytime soon unless they resolve that issue. OpenAI needs to resolve their non-profit for-profit transition issues, which might not be resolved this year. Or might be resolved this year, but that might not mean even if it gets resolved this year, they won't go public this year. But it's a company that needs to go public because OpenAI is burning money. OpenAI losses for this year, 2025, will be trailing to $12 billion US, which is insane actually. So they need to go public because no private investors can actually support this much losses. Only in the public market is designed to support this much losses. So OpenAI is going to go public, but not this year. But we're definitely going to have new IPOs. The other prediction I said was mergers and acquisition. We're going to have the resurgence of mergers and acquisitions this year. And Lina Khan is out, which is good news for like tech folks and business folks and even investment bankers, because without mergers and acquisition, nobody has been able to have any deal done for the past 4 years. But this year it's gonna change. She's out, again because of Trump, and we're gonna have new mergers and acquisitions this year. I believe like dormant acquisitions from from some big tech players might happen. So I believe Meta are gonna have like their first acquisition in a long time, because Mark Zuckerberg has done 360 U-turn on the Democrats, and he has gone full MAGA. So he might influence, and he and a Trump friendship might influence an acquisition, their first acquisition in years. And that's going to actually be shocking for a lot of people. I'm saying this right now. That might not happen in 2024, but that will likely happen in the course of Trump's 2025. That will happen in the course of Trump's 4 years presidency. But one of the mergers or one of the acquisition I'm looking forward to is the acquisition in the self-driving car space. So, I believe Tesla might pull a move on Uber or Lyft, or Waymo might merge with Uber or Lyft. This is the best business case for self-driving car right now. That makes sense, and I believe that is gonna happen. Maybe not this year, but that is definitely gonna happen. Tesla right now can acquire Uber for 10% of their market cap, easy. That would be one of the best business case for Tesla and Uber. Anyway, I predicted that self-driving car is gonna go mainstream. Waymo has 150,000 rides per week, but they're expanding to more cities in 2025, which is gonna lead to more adoptions. We're probably gonna have 1 million rides per week of self-driving car in 2025. Anyway, I've said a lot, man. I don't know if I should continue and make this like a 40 minutes episode, because this is already like a 30-minute episode. But let me just continue a little bit. So legacy automakers are gonna face huge headwinds this year. I've already spoken on that. Because of tariffs, because of removal of EV tax credit, Volkswagen and Stellantis are closing down factories. But Volkswagen is even shocking because they own so much, they control so much, they own so many car brands, and they are closing 3 of their biggest factories in Germany, they are facing huge problems, and they're gonna face huge problems because of tariffs and removal of EV tax credit. I mentioned independent media on the rise, GLP-1 breakthroughs, removal of red tape on pending FDA approval. You could read that on my Medium. AI hardware. So for AI hardware, we're gonna have more adoption of Micron's high bandwidth memory. So on the inference side, we're gonna have huge adoption in 2025. 2023 and 2024 was actually to train large language models. We've actually trained a lot so far, and the next cycle to make AI really better is actually on the inference side, which is actually on the memory side. And the best person position right now is Micron and SK Hynix. We're gonna have more hardware also, like consumer hardware, AI consumer hardware this year. Which might be like different form factors. They might come in different form factors in robotics, in handheld devices, so I believe that we're gonna have that AI generated content boom again because of adoption of artificial intelligence. So agentic apps, I mentioned that. Slowdown on immigration, RFK health campaign impact. So I think these are my few predictions. I would let you guys, I don't want this podcast to take more time, so I would let you guys go on my Medium, which is in the link in the description below, and to check out the rest of my predictions. But stay tuned for more episodes, and don't forget to subscribe. Take care, goodbye.